Hello and welcome to the CRM Zen Show, where we talk about all things Zoho. This is episode 385. The first rule of Invite Club is conditions, recorded for Friday, December 12th, 2025. From Zenatta Consulting, I'm Tyler Colt.
I'm Greg Belnap, and let's get right on into the show.
Let us do it. We do have a relatively busy news week. This is one of those weeks where some things are going to be in the newsletter and in the show notes on the website that are not included in the show. Just lots of stuff. So we picked out the ones that we think are best, but there is more. So head on over, subscribe to the newsletter if you want to see all of that. Otherwise, how's your week going, Greg?
It's been a good one. Now, I enjoy being here in southern Utah where I don't have to deal with snow. How has snow been treating you
Warm.
up in
Yeah, we got
Fort
one
Collins?
flurry last week, and now it's just been sunny and nice every day. So hopefully that'll last for a little longer. Generally for us, it's more January, February. December is normally not bad here. It's more February is where it gets a little brutal generally for a week or two, but nothing like some of our employees in like South Dakota would be like, yeah, you're nothing. You got nothing in terms of snow. Jordan up in Canada and Calgary, it gets brutal up there. So I feel pretty good about where I'm sitting. All right. With that, we do have a pretty busy week. So let us jump right on in the news. All right. First one here from CRM. Pretty quick article, but really big update. So CRM, of course, has a portal. It's like a client portal where you can allow, let's say, like a contact in your CRM, maybe one of your clients, to log in and see certain types of information and maybe make certain updates or trigger certain processes. This has always actually been a pretty good feature. Over the last year, they added a lot to it and made it a lot better. We actually made a tip video on it when a lot of those updates rolled out. One of the big weaknesses, though, that's always been in the portal is automatically inviting people, right? It's always been, and tell me if I'm wrong here, Greg, pretty manual, right? I mean, you had to, I think there may have been a deluge or an API endpoint to do it, but no normal default functionality to automatically invite people, if I remember correctly, right?
That's correct. You could, you could sort of invite people en masse,
Yeah.
like by selecting a bunch of contacts in a list and then inviting them, but not no conditional automatic statements like we've got here now.
Yeah, so this is really nice. Basically what this is, you can have multiple different portal types inside of here, different types of users that can log in. I'm going to think about this from the context of a client. That's how most people are doing it. But essentially imagine that you have a business rule where once you win a deal with a client, you would like them to be invited to the client portal. Like Greg is saying before, this would have to be either like a manual process where once you win it, you go to the contact, you click invite, or you'd have to maybe at the end of every day, go to a custom view, select everybody and push the invite out. Now you can basically just set up what effectively is like a workflow, right? Where you could say, hey, when the deal gets closed won, I'm going to update this field on a contact. And now that field is updated, they satisfy these criteria and get invited to the client portal. So really nice. I mean, a huge update in terms of really making this thing most useful, right? Having to do it manually has worked, but, for higher volume businesses or larger companies, it just gets unwieldy. So big shout out to Zoho on this. I think it solves a pretty big weak point that's always existed in the CRM portal.
Yeah. One element of it that I don't know what would happen here is I don't know if these conditions would trigger if you did an import of a bunch of contacts. Because sometimes importing contacts doesn't always trigger the same kinds of automations as when you just create a contact directly in the UI, or from converting a lead. So there is a possibility that if you are going to do a big import, one, check and see if those auto invites went out. And then just if they didn't, okay, now all right, so we have a process that if we're going to import a bunch of contacts, we'll have to import them and then go in and manually check all the
Make those
records in that custom view and then manually send that out. So not a big deal. The other thing is that if you are going to set up this auto invite, just keep in mind that we talked about a lot of the changes that have happened in the portal recently in the CRM. One of the biggest things was that although they did expand like the total number of invites you can send out to like every module, for contacts specifically, the number did go down from 10,000 free contact users to 1,000 free contact users. So just something to keep in mind, that if you're turning on this auto invitation, how many of your contacts are going to qualify for that? And just want to make sure that you don't get surprised by, we've already used up all of our little licenses. We need to buy a bunch more. So just keep an eye on that.
And now if you didn't have, just to add the last note here, something that I do like that they added, kind of a minor part of this, but a nice one, is it will actually show you failed invites. So if you try to do that and it was like, I've exceeded my number of free users, the ones that don't go out will be flagged, and it will say that that's why it happened, right? So at least you'll be able to have that data and resolve it and move forward. Next one up here is the query workbench inside of Zoho CRM. So we talked about queries a bit a long time ago. A query is essentially a way to set up a structured get, right? You're going to get data using a query. So there's oftentimes something that needs to be done with a piece of deluge script. A query is essentially a way to do it through the UI. And then you can use that query in things like kiosk, right? If you're going to do some type of process management step. And then you can go and do like a pretty custom search of data without having to be a deluge expert, right? So that's kind of queries in a nutshell. The query workbench is like a new interface. So queries are pretty much the same. This is a new way that you'll go in and create queries, right? So the idea is, I think this is one of those things where Zoho puts out a feature. Feature's really cool. Like queries are great. And there's a lot of use cases. Like you can use them to make custom related lists, right? Which eliminates the need for like the whole, get a bunch of data with deluge and wrap it in XML, right? You can just like put a query there. Way easier to do. And I'm sure they saw that maybe not a lot of people were using them. And in my opinion, that's because, yes, while this is a developer tool made easy, the UI historically has not been particularly easy to actually like understand what you're trying to get with one of these. So this is just a new builder, essentially, where you can also quickly check your results. You don't less pages to go to actually set one of these up. So hopefully this will make usage of queries a bit easier across the board for people.
Yeah, so just putting all those pieces in the same window already takes care of 90% of the issues that people had with building queries. It's just now I got one window where I've got my configuration, my output. If I need to set up a field type schema, if I need to add a serializer, by the way, is when you post process the results that come back from the query. If you needed to, format some names or readjust some. Yeah, you do have to know how to do JavaScript because it's JavaScript, not deluge in the serializer code. But hey, ChatGPT is pretty good at JavaScript.
It is. If you need pretty bad at deluge, but pretty good at JavaScript. So excited for this one. I may make a tip video on it just to warm myself back up on queries because I really do like it. I always try to shout out Zoho when they do this, is when they take a feature functionality that historically has been very complicated to set up and needs a lot of deluge and make it a little easier. Right now, like Greg is mentioning, for some query use cases, you might still need JavaScript, but not all. Something like I just want to get some invoices and show them on a record. Like you might not even need the JavaScript there. So well worth giving these a shot and seeing if they are helpful for you. Next one up, I don't know if I'd call this minor or major. So Zoho MCP, this is essentially a tool that allows an AI chat tool, so like a Claude or GPT, to interface with a application, right? So essentially, my understanding of really what an MCP is, Greg, it's like REST API documentation for an AI tool, right? It's like if the user queries about leads, what leads means is this, and this is where you'll find that data, right? And this is how you make a query. It's really like a set of instructions. And so what this would allow you to do is if you were using something like Claude, you could ask it how many deals are in the pipeline right now, and it will make an API call to Bigin and then return that data for you to answer it. So they now just support this for Bigin. It's been supported for CRM for a little while. So why not, right? It doesn't ever hurt to have one of these set up. Bigin, of course, is going to be pretty simple in terms of the use case, but they do have a lot of things here that they're saying you're going to be able to do with this, like even take actions, trigger workflows, things like that. So will be interesting to see how these get adopted over time. It's one of those ones, Greg, where like, I think the tech is really cool, and maybe I just don't get it because like I'm just really comfortable in a CRM, right? But like for me, this is not like the medium in which I would like to interact with my CRM. Like I want to like click into the record. For me, it's hard to envision like preferring interfacing with my CRM via a chat window rather than just going into it and using it. But maybe I'm in the minority there.
Yeah, I guess it just depends on, is the CRM or Bigin in this case, is that your primary workspace where most of you're going to spend the most time in whatever app has the most relevant information to you, right? So like if you're an employee who, although you do interact with, like I think about our consultants on our consulting team, although of course the CRM is very useful to them and has a lot of information, most of their day-to-day work is not in the CRM. Their day-to-day work is more managing their inbox and communicating with our clients
and the portal, working tasks. Yeah.
Yeah. So like for them, the majority of their like 90% of their time is going to be in Gmail and in our Zoho Creator Task Manager. So I could understand that if that's where most of your work is done, you're like, if I can just have something that can talk to that app for me without me having to go and work in that app, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, that is fair. That's a fair way to look at it. And I also could see the idea of maybe like if you had one chat interface and let's say it was hooked into like 10 different MCPs that go into every different application that you use, right? Like the ability to bring all of that together. It's like, I guess I do get it. It's just for me, no, I just want to see the record a lot of the times. And so to each their own. It is really nice to have, and so we'll see. Let me know in the comments below, everybody, if this is like things that you really want to use. Trying to figure out what that killer use case is for a lot of these AI chat tools. And like, maybe it's this, I don't know. I do think off topic, they've kind of hit a ceiling. They keep making new ones and they keep being transformatively better. And it's like, well, seems kind of the same as it used to me. I think for me, the point of diminishing returns came around from 4.0 on up. Right? Like 4.0 was better than 4. 4 was a lot better than 3. 5 versus 4.0, I don't know. Like it's a little less annoying in its tone, but otherwise, functionally, it seems pretty similar. Anyways.
Yeah, functionally mostly the same. Okay, sorry, you got me on the rabbit hole now. But the big thing, there's a YouTuber I really like named Eddie Burback that he did a thing where GPT-5 was much better at not letting you... of like trying to like force you to accept reality. You could get GPT-4 to gaslight you all day.
Oh yeah. Big time. Yeah.
And get it to reaffirm things that are physically impossible, not just like factually wrong, but just physically impossible, things that cannot be. Whereas GPT-5 was a much better version of like saying like, hey, that's a really creative idea you've got there. Of course, that can't happen, or that's impossible. Like it was a little bit better at staying in Earth.
Yeah, I remember with 4.0, they put out that one update to it that made it just like insanely sycophantic, and they tried to roll it back and couldn't, and then had to actually roll the entire model back, not just the temperature change. Because that was always the thing that would bug me in that. It's like, look, if I'm doing something dumb, tell me. I have no hard feelings. With that, moving on to the news here, Zoho Desk getting some updates to record history and ticket interaction tabs for contacts and accounts. Pet peeve of mine, capital C, capital A. Come on, Zoho. Anyways, this is essentially just an update and an improvement to like history and timeline tracking, right? So essentially, you'll be able to just see more information about what's gone on in the actual record itself of a contact and an account and in the related tickets, right? So you'll just be able to see a lot more information from that contact and account level without having to dig in one by one to all the related tickets that might be a part of that. So just kind of a minor one, little tweak to the UI and process of like, you know, you get a ticket from a customer, you want to just figure out real quick, what's our history looked like with them? A little bit easier to tease out that information now.
It's very similar to the CRM enhancements to the timeline where they have those two tabs now of like, what are they? I know one of them is called like interactions and whatever the full timeline is, if it's just called like edits
timeline
or something
and
like
interactions.
That. Yeah, timeline and interaction. So this seems like a very similar history is to timeline what interactions is to interactions.
Yeah, it's almost like they could just use the same terms. But nice one. Good little update there. So shout out to the desk team. Next one, this is kind of a quick one, but I wanted to shout it out. So Zoho Projects has put out what they're calling a learning space. So essentially, it is just a quick course that they're delivering through Trainer Central. They're competing with us, Greg. Come on, Zoho. Anyways, I'm kidding. More training is always good. So this is Zoho Projects for beginners, essentially going to run through 6 video lessons, free access, self-paced structure. So yeah, why not? I mean, if we look at the topics, they look like good ones. Projects is definitely a lot to learn. I don't know that those 6 topics are really going to get you there if you're like new to the application as a whole. But why not? More free training content for people is always good. That's why we make it and put it on YouTube. The more the merrier. So good job to Zoho.
Yeah, and good on them for looks like your first chapter is explain to you that like, hey, there's these like main different project methodologies because like because Zoho Projects can help you run whichever methodology you're trying to use, but you should pick probably one and go for it because it'll probably be easier than trying to like mishmash a bunch of different methodologies together.
And it definitely works best with waterfall for sure. Like it is like first and foremost a Gantt chart builder, right? And and then when you bring in things like the sprints integration, you can do a better like agile or scrum approach. But like definitely leans heavily towards the waterfall approach for project management. So like we always say with project management tools, it's just about picking the one that works for you, right? You never want to square peg round hole into Zoho Projects just because it's included with Zoho One, right? There are a lot of ways to manage tasks and get things done. It's not worth using a tool that is not a good fit. Though Projects often is, so it's worth taking a look at. All right, next up here, 2 more stories, both from FSM. So subforms being added into job sheets, right? So essentially a subform is like a table that lives within a record. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can see it's like I've picked an item, there's a condition, there's a status. I can add new lines as I need to. These are essentially just now added and supported for job sheets. Looks like this is custom, right? So it's not like they're giving some default one that you have to use. They've just basically enabled this for that module. The big thing here really that I would imagine using is like, you know, the perfect example that they have here on the article is like, I'm doing some type of service. There's 4 or 5 different things I'm going to take a measurement on, right? Or maybe I'm going to take a before and an after, right? And you really don't want to add like fields for each of these, right? Because maybe one of the places you go doesn't have one of these. Maybe there's another that you need, right? It's like, oh, you really want to avoid like having to just add more and more and more and more fields, right? So nice way to do this where you're essentially just giving the user a way to take this type of data down, but not cluttering things with a million fields that aren't getting used every time. So great one. Happy to see this get added.
Yeah, I could see another one of like, say you were like a carpet installation company and you needed to go through and have a subform for every room that you're going to do, right? You can specify the name of the room, the style of carpet that's going in there, and then like the overall area or even dimensions, whatever it's going to be. So yeah, good editors there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other one from Zoho FSM, pretty cool as well. Not everybody needs this one, but those who do, it's like a perfect solve for it. So this is basically adding two customers, dual customer mode is what they're calling it, to an FSM work order. And you might think, why? Why would I ever do that? Well, there actually are a lot of cases where you might do that. So let's say that, let's flash back to when I was in college and I would live in rental homes, right? And something would go wrong in that home. Well, it's like they need me as a customer because I'm the one who's going to be there. I'm the one who needs to be notified that they're on their way, but I'm not paying the bill. I'm a broke college student, right? I'm just trying to get by with minimizing my student loans. It's going to be the homeowner, that I'm renting from that actually needs to receive the invoice. Probably more matters to them to receive like the work order summary of what's been done. So essentially what you can do here is for that exact scenario, you can have a different customer for billing versus a customer for like the service process, right? So really great things like property management, corporate campuses, hospitals, and schools. That's a big one. You could have like a series of hospitals with 10 different locations. You need to have all of them as a service contact, but it's all going to bill through the primary, right? So there's actually quite a lot of scenarios where this can come up for service requests. And now you can just easily handle it, right? So just put a different one in for billing as you're using for service, and the rest will just be handled pretty much natively. So really nice update there.
Yeah, it looks like, I'm trying to see in their articles here, I think this is a global setting that you're going to turn on of just like, or if it's per, I think it's a global setting of if your work orders, estimates, requests are going to be in dual customer mode or single customer mode. I think it's a global one. So
got it.
So you'll need so if you have at least one, you'll turn it on for all of them, from what I can tell.
I guess hypothetically you could have the same group in both, right? So if you do just need it occasionally, you turn it on globally, but you don't. It's not like you have to have a different billing and service contact. They could be the same. It's just enabling that you can have different ones. So yeah, really nice. I think that's going to make a lot of people really happy. And again, like for that use case, it's kind of a need to have, right? Not just a nice to have. You need to be able to do this. So really great stuff. With that, I think ready to wrap out the news for this week and jump over to Club Zenatta to check out our code share of the week. All right. This one comes from Alex. This is bulk transferring field data between related modules in CRM using a lookup. Right. So essentially what we're looking to do here is we're syncing data between different modules. And it looks like the goal here is to set up a way to do this that's pretty modular, right? Kind of plug and play, make a couple small tweaks, and then you're off to the races. But Greg, you want to take us through this one?
Absolutely. So a prime example here would be, let's say you have fields on your deal that if those are changed, you want those reflected on the account, right? Occasionally you have some fields that up on the account, you have these fields that need to kind of be synced up. And or maybe not just so it's synced up, but maybe you just need to make a one-time transfer for a bunch of these. In any case, the way this works is it's going to look at your source module. So in my example, deals, and you'll put in the target module, accounts, as well as the lookup field on the deal, which would be the account name or account underscore name, so that it will iterate through deals, and for every deal, it's going to grab that account name ID, as well as all the fields that you put in this little field mappings object that Alex has created here, where you'll say the field API name as it appears on the deal, and then the field API name as it appears, on the account.
Got it.
So then it'll iterate through, grab all the information from the deal record, and then map it to the same fields with the account module's API names, put that in a map, grab that account ID from the lookup field on the deal, put that in that map, and then it'll do bulk updates to, not be so API intensive, move a little bit faster, to be able to then just sort of mass update and move this data from your deals module to the respective related accounts in the accounts module. And then finally, the other thing that he has here is this is running off of a custom view. He added a custom field to the deals module, or, in my example, the deals module called transferred. And then just that's a checkbox that's either set to true or false. So at the end of all of his updates, then he updates all those deals to say transferred is true. So now the custom view will automatically boot them out. So rather than having to look at the most recently updated or anything like that, you can just re-grab that custom view, and any records that you haven't worked on yet are going to be at the top of the list.
Got it. Yeah, very, very nice. And I would think this has got to be for a scenario where you need to do this semi-regularly, right, over time. Because I'm thinking, if I need to do this as a one-shot, I could just export import, right? I could just take out the deal data, including the account name with the ID in it, right, and just run an import. But this is something I'd imagine like a scheduled function or something that's doing this pretty regularly over time, that you would use an approach like this. And this is a real nice way to do it. Again, like I always try to do this when we go through the code shares, of highlight the things you would need to change. Really here, it's like you're going to have a different view ID that you just get from the URL bar, right? When you're looking at that particular custom view, you'll need to adjust a couple field mappings, right? And the module names. But otherwise, a lot of this looks pretty like this whole part is generalized. You could set a different batch size. You shouldn't. Just use 100. That's a good batch size unless you have some real reason to try to push it. But because a bulk update can do up to 200 at a time, technically, if you chose. Or is it 100?
It is 100. No,
okay,
100
definitely don't do more than 100.
Yeah, don't increase that batch size.
This whole part here, this is just like generalized based on what you've set. So yeah, really small amount of things that you actually need to change here. Just basically stuff up here at the top, and then the rest of it can just run independently. So yeah, really, really nice. If you want a bit of a practice test for those at Home Learning Deluge, another way to do this would be to look at some type of analytics table, right? Here we're looking at a view ID and pulling it from there. This could technically pull from an analytics view if you wanted to sync like third-party data that you have sitting over there. So if you want a little practice test at home, try to adjust this to get from a view in analytics instead. Otherwise, this code share and all others are here on club.zenatta.com. Of course, this is just the free community for Zoho nerds by Zoho nerds, where we talk about Zoho, share Zoho news, ask questions about Zoho. We've got the things we notice section, which people do actually drop things in that we don't even always notice. Not super often. Lots of John. He's a big contributor. Shout out to John. Even something a good example here, Nick back in October showed this whole redo to the payment page, and I had no idea that it existed. So good place to check out and keep on top of if you are in the world of Zoho. Totally free. Just need to sign up with your email. With that, I think we're ready to jump over to the website and check out what's new on Zenatta.com. All right, this one comes from TG Technical Services. They are, a company in the industrial safety gas monitoring space out in Missouri. Small team, 7 employees. Main apps, CRM, books, expense, and inventory. Main thing here, which was really at the top of the list for them, was getting out of Odoo. Odoo and Zoho are very much direct competitors, right? I would almost even say more direct than like Salesforce. Like Salesforce and Zoho CRM are very direct competitors. Yeah. Odoo is a direct competitor for Zoho One, right? They have the same kind of suite of applications, a lot of customization options. And Honestly, the thing with Odoo and Zoho is like they can both be good and they can both be bad. A lot of it just gets into the implementation itself, right? That like these are tools that are toolboxes, right? Where like it's well, oftentimes when we're on like sales calls with people, Greg, we try to make the distinction between like something being a product versus a platform, right? Like something like AccuLinks for roofers. It's a product. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. You pay monthly, you use it as it gets used. That's it. Where Odoo and Zoho are really things that need to be put together and customized to like work for a use case. In this case, they just kind of had a failed implementation of Odoo. It was just causing a lot of problems and they wanted to start from scratch. So we built out a Zoho platform for them.
We don't know Odoo, so we're like, we'll build it for you in Zoho.
Exactly, yeah. We should. It would be fun to learn Odoo sometime, but we're busy enough on the Zoho side. But so yeah, we built out CRM and quoting, full books rebuild, inventory rebuild inside of the finance suite, and then really from there, just like a long term, get into that continuous improvement cycle, right? I think one of the things that went wrong in their previous implementation and something we really always try to avoid is like making V1 this like massive thing, right? That like we need to cram everything you're ever going to need into the day one go live. And it's like, don't do it that way, right? You really want to avoid doing it that way wherever possible because you just never really know. There's always going to be things that change in the business and the needs and the understanding of our own needs, right? Things just change over time. So kept it really simple, got them in there, and then got into that continuous improvement loop as quick as possible. So yeah, big shout out to the T&G team. We love working with them. And thank you for a great case study.
Yeah, the trick with that I think we found with TG Technical, same thing you were talking about is if you think that you know exactly what you want automated and how you want it automated. But a lot of times it works a lot better if you start by, okay, let's set up the process manually first. And let's do the process manually for, a couple days, a couple weeks, whatever it is. And then you could look back and identify, all right, in all the stuff that I'm doing manually, are there spots where I am doing the same thing over and over again? Yes, yep. I'm doing the same thing over and over again here. So let's automate this piece. But over here that we were thinking about automating, I am actually having to kind of do like a different thing every case. It's a case-by-case thing. So let's not try to automate this one because that's going to be way more trouble than it's worth. I can actually get it done faster by doing it manually. So it's always good to
circle back to it later, when you want to really tackle that really complicated thing. Perfect example of this, one of our consultants, Eric, just demoed this on a team call recently. It was a process around intaking different, I think they were checks. It's like checks that needed to be taken in and then reconciled against different bills. And the way the client was doing it before was like, no system, right? Check comes in. It's just like, we're just like trying to match it against stuff. It's like a big nightmare. Future dream scenario is run the check through an OCR and it gets read and it gets added to everything. But the first thing he did is just build them like a table where these things could go in and some basic automation occurs that does some of the reconciliation. So it's like not the perfect end state future thing that we want, but it's way better than we're doing it now. And it's something that we can build into that awesome future state using OCR and AI to read them and all this cool stuff. So it's like, get those fundamentals down, get those working in use, because once you're using it, we know more about exactly how it should be automated. Like automated is a broad term. There's a lot of ways that any process can actually look in practice. It's like the difference of my background in chemistry coming through. It's like in vitro versus in vivo, right? Like once you actually put something in a live animal, it's different, right? Things can work in a petri dish, but not in an actual complicated live system, right? So just important to keep that in mind as you're doing these initial build outs. All right. With that, let's head over to youtube.com and check out our tips of the week. All right. So, first one here, I did a quick run through on some new AI features for Zoho CRM. They've kind of been rebuilding this whole like smart prompt system. Some cool stuff that I'll highlight in here. A lot of it is similar to what it had before. A couple new things are helping you auto draft emails. So, like looking at some of the recent communication and updates and drafting an appropriate email like to an individual person. And then the other one is helping you draft templates, right? So if you're trying to, maybe you're new to CRM and you're trying to populate it with an initial, God, my hair is out of control. Trying to populate it with an initial bank of templates. This can be a great place to start. Again, you're going to want to humanize this type of stuff and make it fit your brand and your voice and make sure it's accurate if it's like about new products or services. But I've said it a million times, so I won't belabor the point. It's always better to start with something. Now, I will also highlight Doc Joe's Sweeney in the comments did leave a good comment here. If you're looking to use some of these new smart prompt features, you're going to have to use Zia. So they do support for some features, the usage of like ChatGPT as a third-party model. But in the case of these smart prompt tools, you will need to use Zia. I will tell you, kind of circling back to that comment earlier, it's almost like we planned it. I just think the differences in a lot of these models are starting to get less and less. Like, I almost wonder if it becomes almost a commodity product service that's really poorly differentiated over time. Because when Zoho first rolled out Zia, one of the first things I tried with it was you could add those buttons, right, on a record, where like intake some data from the record, and then it would like write you a summary. And I gave it a simple one of, in a deal, I'm going to press this button and I want you to write me a document to prepare for my sales call. We have a video on the channel where I did it in GPT and I did it in Zia, and I look at them side by side. Very similar. Like they're not very different at all. Like one or two things are like included or excluded on either, but it's not really better or worse. So I don't think you're going to miss much by just using Zia in the context of these like smart prompt tools in Zoho, because I haven't really been able to create a scenario where they perform like meaningfully differently. Your mileage may vary. Let me know in the comments below if you strongly disagree, and maybe you do. You teach me why I'm wrong, but I'm just not seeing a huge difference between them for like normal human use cases, right?
Well, just I think you're absolutely right that we're just going to see everybody kind of is going to move towards a mean as is just how these things kind of go. Everybody's gonna it's gonna be Pepsi versus Coke, just which one has the flavor that you like more, they're fundamentally basically the same thing, just little twinges different.
And also on the YouTube channel, Kendall making a video here on books reconciliations and resolving incorrect dates. She's going to be making a lot of content here on the finance and accounting side of Zoho Books. So show her some love. New to the channel, newer team member on our team, spinning up our bookkeeping service, if you don't know, something we're going to be focusing a lot more on here over the upcoming year. So head on over to this video, leave us a comment, let us know what types of like accounting centric content you would like to see, as we'd like to make a whole lot more of this over the upcoming year. So just let us know what would be useful for you. There are a lot of these things in books that are a little cryptic. You got to read the tea leaves to figure out, especially if there's been an issue in the past and you want to resolve that issue. It's actually, books is pretty simple to use correctly from scratch, but fixing things can get pretty painful, as they do in a lot of different accounting tools. So head on over to the channel, youtube.com/Zenatta, to keep an eye on any and all of those new accounting series videos that we're going to be launching for you. All right. I think with that, we're ready to wrap out the show here for this week. As always, thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for joining, Greg. I love having you on the show. You're like that just that good energy. I feel it come through the screen, and I always appreciate it, my friend.
Yeah. I mean, of course we miss Brett. We love Brett. But
coming back for the year in review, we're going to do something weird with that. I know he wants to join for annual review. There's going to be 2-on-1, I think, for that one. 2 insane people versus me. So I'll see if I can keep things on track.
You, me, and Brett, we're gonna have a nice 3-way going on.
Nope.
In the year review. Oh,
mistletoe. Oh wait, beautiful timing, Freddie. Beautiful timing. I appreciate that. Let's wrap the show here before we get demonetized. I feel it bubbling up. As always, thank you so much for watching the show. We really appreciate it. If you want to get in touch with us over here at Zenatta, just head on over to zenatta.com and click on Book a Meeting. While you're there, you can check out full episodes of the show, as well as links to all the stories we discussed today.
And for clean code for free, head to Club Z. Club.zenatta.com is your one-stop shop for code shares, as well as Zoho and Zenatta news and events. And if you want your team trained up in the core Zoho apps in less than a week, head over to zenatta.com/training and enroll your team in one of our fine training courses today.
And as always, we appreciate when you like and subscribe here on YouTube, as well as your choice of podcast app. We will see you next Friday. It's funny that you have to keep it general for podcast app because there's so much competition. But for video, just YouTube. There's nowhere else.
Yeah.
There's no, that's it. It's not YouTube and Vimeo. It's just a complete monopoly.
Yeah, nowhere close.
Have a good weekend, everybody.